We are all angels who only have one wing. All angels searching for each other. All angels who cannot reach the sky. 'Cause we need each other to fly. Do you know there are angels in our midst? Can you hear them? Can you feel them?
They're all around you, with you every day. Do you see them, or do you look the other way?
It's that man that I forgot to kiss as I hurried out the door, or that stranger that said hello that I ignored. They are angels.
They are angels.
We are angels. We are all angels who only have one wing. All angels searching for each other. All angels who cannot reach the sky. 'Cause we need each other to fly.
My life gets so busy, time goes by so fast. I rush through the day trying to make each moment last. But when I take the time to look around, I see sweet angels smiling back at me. Everywhere at any time I need to open up my eyes and see the beauty that surrounds me. Now I realize we are angels.
We are angels.
We are angels.
We are all angels who only have one wing. All angels searching for each other.
Good morning. We are all angels. Welcome this morning to Unity of the Blue Ridge, our live stream. We're so glad to have you with us this morning. We always begin our time lighting this candle. It's a beautiful representation of one flame as an expression of light, of fire. And you can extinguish one flame, but you would never extinguish the light. And so it is with each of us. And so we honor the light within each and every person this morning. We'd like to begin with a prayer. And so I invite you to just turn your awareness within as we greet this day. I wrote a song years ago for children that said, "Greet the day with sunshine in your heart." To take a breath and pull it down and let it swirl around and round. Greet the day with sunshine in your heart. We greet this day with the awareness of the light of God, the awareness of the light of our true nature. We allow it to move from simple awareness into an embodied experience of who we are as an expression of all that is. We open this day to explore the why of our being and to really consider why our why is so important. And we give thanks for this opportunity to be blessed, to be a blessing. And so in the name and in the nature of all that is, that which is holy, and so it is. Amen. Welcome again this morning. If you're in the Western North Carolina area next week, join us 10 a.m. We're going to have another outside service Everyone wears their mask until they're safely seated. We have circles drawn with little flags, so everyone is spread out on the lawn. And we had a wonderful time last week with that. So if you're available to do that, we'd love to have you join us. Otherwise, have no fear. We will be here at 11 o'clock for our live stream. Today we're going to wrap up a month-long series. It's based on the book, The Art of Uncertainty. And it leads us really to the questions, what do you want? Why are you here? And so today when we really we're going to explore the why of our being. And to get us started with that, we have a song by Cat Williams, and you'll see our entire congregation really joining in, Make Me an Instrument.
Of your peace, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, of your peace, of your peace, of your peace, of your peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your love. Lord, make me an instrument of your love. Lord, make me an instrument of your love. Put your hands together. Of your love, of your love, of your love, of your love. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, of your peace, of your peace, of your peace, of your peace. Lord, make me an instrument of your love, yeah. Lord, make me an instrument of your love. Lord, make me an instrument of your love, 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 of your love.
Cat Williams, yeah. Lord, make me an instrument of your love, yeah. Richard Shulman, thank you for being here with us today. Thank you, Kat, and our band with that previous service. So today we're talking about what do you want and why are you here? So a couple of humorous things to get us thinking about this. A prison inmate escaped on the 89th day of a 90-day sentence. He was captured and then had to serve 3 more years. Hello? A bank robber allowed a teller to make 1 cell phone call during the robbery and was flabbergasted when the police arrived. Hello? A Michigan woman and her family were vacationing in a small New England town. Sunday morning, the woman got up to take a long walk, and after a brisk long walk, she decided to treat herself to an ice cream cone. So she drove to the center of the town into a long-standing bakery ice cream shop. And there was only one other patron in the store that morning, but it was Paul Newman, sitting at the counter having a donut and coffee. The woman's heart skipped a beat, and her eyes made contact with those famous Paul Newman baby blue eyes. The actor nodded graciously, and the starstruck woman was just so awkward, and she thought, pull yourself together, you're 45 years old, you're not a teenager. Well, the clerk filled her ice cream order, and then she took the cone in one hand and her change in the other hand, and walked out the door without even looking back at Paul Newman. When she reached the car, though, she realized she had her change in one hand, but no ice cream cone. So she had to go back in the store. Oh my God, I left it. So she went in and she looked at the clerk, she looked at the counter, but no ice cream cone. Well, it was at that moment she happened to glance over at Paul Newman, and he looked at her and he smiled and he said, "You put your cone in your purse." And those absent-minded moments when we think, oh my God, what was I thinking? So what are we thinking? What do we want? And the deeper questions, why are we here? We've been exploring the art of uncertainty, realizing that life is a mystery. Having part of aspects of your life that are unknown and dealing with uncertainty, it's a normal part of life. But here's the thing, we can embrace the mystery of life and really allow it to help us bring clarity to what matters most. To really help us bring clarity to why we're doing the things that we're doing. So what matters most? And why are you here? There's a movie titled My Dinner with Andre. And in this particular movie, there's a conversation with Andre Gregory. And Andre shares about a pivotal time in his life when his wife had to go in for surgery. And he said that his wife went in for surgery, and after she was out because of the anesthesia, he realized that he had not said to her what he wanted to say, what he needed to say. And he was uncertain if she'd survive. And he said during that period of waiting, he made a vow to himself that he said he dedicated the rest of his life to being willing to express his heart as if it were for the very last time. To express our heart as if it were for the very last time. That's a powerful why. You know, to embrace everything that we do as if it were the last time, as if it really mattered. You know, I'm sure if you're an adult with any years behind you, you have some regrets in your life. We all can share some sort of regret, whether it's just a small kind of regret or whether it's a lifelong regret. That when you really understand what a regret feels like, it's when you did something or said something or failed to do something or failed to say something that came from a place of hurt. It came from a bruised ego. It came from short-sightedness rather than coming from what really mattered most. That's what regret's all about, is if we could go back and do it over again, we would have done it differently. We would have done it in a way that was more real, was more loving, was truly more connected to what mattered. And so that mindfulness, that self-accountability of what do you want and why are you here? It's an important practice to begin your day, you know, what matters most to me this day, and to stay grounded in what matters most. Otherwise, you get caught up in so many things. You may put your ice cream cone in your purse or your pocket before the day's over with because we're so overwhelmed and can be so absent-minded. So to begin our day with what matters most and why am I doing the things that I do? Because as we connect to our our real why, it either opens us to our inner resources or it closes them off. Consider this. Some people have essentially all the resources that they need. Some people are born into a family that loves them. They have good health, maybe even good looks. They have the opportunity for an education. They have other opportunities. They have money. They have support. And yet, they may spend their entire life empty and lost. All the resources really they could need, and yet spend their entire life empty and lost. And then if you think about that, perhaps there's another person who has had a very hard life. We could say they were born on the wrong side of the tracks, that they've been through it. They've had their share of loss. They've had lots of heartache and pain, that they have had tough break after tough break. And yet you can look sometimes at individuals like that and they become deeply fulfilled and maybe one who contributes most to society. And if you really think about something like that, you realize that the defining factor is not about outer resources. The defining factor is inner resourcefulness. That when you're really in touch with your why and what matters most, and when that is in alignment with your soul, you are open to an inner treasure, as Jesus called it, an inner kingdom, your inner resources. When you're really in touch with your why am I doing this? What matters most? And it's rooted and grounded in the integrity of your being. There's an inner resourcefulness that begins to flow. And you begin to realize then that life is not shaped by what appears to be available. Life is not dependent on what appears to be available, but life is shaped by the vision that we hold, by the quality of inner vision and inner resourcefulness that we have. So what do you want? Why are you here? I think that's why the scriptures say, ask and receive, seek and find, knock and have the door open. Ask, seek, knock. A-S-K, ask. To really get in touch with your own inner, what do I really want? Do I want to be right? Or do I want to be connected? Do I want to be the one that gets the last word in? Or do I want to really understand? What do I really want? And when we are clear and in alignment, it truly does activate our inner resources. If we look at Scripture, if we look at the Bible for a story that helps us gain insight into this, there's a powerful story that's told in John chapter 5. Now in Unity, when we're looking at the Bible, we're understanding that it is a spiritual body of work, that it begins with Adam consciousness and it ends at Christ consciousness. It's about that individual that is separate and outside of their connection with their Creator, and then Christ who knows themselves at one with. And that the whole Bible is this journey of how we ourselves in this body are sometimes feel so separate and disconnected from our source, disconnected from the inner resources that we need, and thereby the outer resources that we need. And how, as we begin to know the truth of who we are, it opens us up to being one with all that is. And so in the Bible, we see the characters and the stories can tell us something about ourselves. And so we look through that. We would look at this particular story from John chapter 5. Now, during the time of this story, there's a space that was just north of the temple. There was a pool. And the pool was rumored to possess healing properties. And so sick people from all around would come and stay around that pool. And so this is where the Gospel of John chapter 5 picks up. Soon after, a feast came around and Jesus went back to Jerusalem. Near the sheep gate in Jerusalem, there was a pool, in Hebrew called Bethesda, with 5 porches or 5 alcoves. Hundreds of sick people, the blind, the crippled, the paralyzed, were in all of those alcoves. One man had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him stretched by the pool, Jesus knew how long he had been there. And he said to the man, "Do you want to be well?" Now, if you pause just a second, that's kind of an obvious question, because this place was known for people that were sick. They needed to be healed. These waters, this pool, the story was told that the angel would move the waters, and so when they saw movement in the water, the first person that got in would be healed. And so people would hang out around these waters. And we know from the other story, Jesus certainly knew what was going on with someone, so he sees this man clearly in need of healing by the water, and he's been hanging out at this place for 38 years. But what he says is, "Do you want to be well?" It should have been an easy response, but the man replied back, "Sir, when the water is stirred, I don't have anybody to put me in the pool. By the time I get in there, somebody else is in." You see, it was a simple answer. Do you want to be well? You would think after 38 years you would have said, yes, absolutely. You may have even had some sarcasm. Well, hello, why am I here? Yes, I want to be healed. But he doesn't do that. Instead, when asked, do you want to be healed, he registers a complaint. And when we look at that in our lives, you know, what the man really was wanting was help. He was wanting help to get in. And he was so frustrated that he didn't have the outside resources. He didn't have the help that he needed, that he literally was paralyzed, continuing to remain paralyzed. Well, have you ever in your life been paralyzed or been stuck in a situation? You know, we can be paralyzed by fear. You can be paralyzed by doubt. You can be paralyzed by grief, by anger, by uncertainty. You can be paralyzed by anxiety. You can certainly be paralyzed by indecisiveness. There's a lot of things that can cause us to get stuck. And the piercing question is, what do you want? And why are you here? And have you been hanging out here so long that you've really forgotten why I'm here and what I really want? The story goes on to say, you know, after he says, nobody helps me, Jesus it's like he didn't hear it. He just said, get up, take up your bed, and walk. The man was healed on the spot. He picked up his bedroll and walked off. But the point is, can you respond? And are we responding every day to that question? What do you want? Do you want to be well? Why are you here? What do you really, really want? It's sad to say, but apparently the term "a lame excuse" literally came from this story. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not, but it goes along with that story. Why are we here, and what do you want? So, a practice in our daily life, number one, is to continually examine, what is your why? Oprah Winfrey says when she gets up every morning, she says, use me, God. That's a powerful why to be here. To start your day every morning with, what's your big why? Why are you here? What do you want? This past Friday is my day. I use the word often, sequestered. On Fridays, I dedicate the entire day to working on my Sunday talk. And so this past Friday, I was sequestered and I was working on this talk, but my mind kept coming here to the church because we're in the midst of a raise the roof. There's lots of stuff going on, construction workers and painters and things going on outside the building. They're putting wiring inside the building. This past Friday in particular, our Habitat for Unity team, they were moving a cabinet and mowing the lawn. There was a lot of them with a lot of activity. We also had board members here helping the staff because there was a newsletter going out and letters being folded and envelopes stuffed. And some of our board members were literally out here pulling weeds. And so I'm at home doing my best to be sequestered, but in my heart I wanted to be here, and I kept texting Reverend Christy to say, please make sure they have water, please offer to buy lunch. I was really feeling them. And one of the board members texted me back and said, I am so happy to contribute. And it literally brought tears to my eyes because I was sitting there sequestered thinking about, what's your why? And for one of those individuals to say, I'm so happy to contribute. They could have said, gosh, we need more volunteers. Oh, it's hot today. Wow, there's a lot going on. No, I'm happy I can contribute. When we greet the day with that, I am happy to contribute. We open up our resources when your why comes from that place. Now, compare that to a story I had just read in looking for examples of why people do the things they do. I had just stumbled across a story about a former president from Indonesia. He was called Mr. 25% because he was said to be one of the most crooked leaders their country had ever had, because anytime he awarded any kind of government contract, apparently under the table he insisted that 25% come back to him. When he died apparently a billionaire. And I was thinking about that. So here's someone who says, my why is because I want to contribute. And another person's why may be solely about how much advantage I can take of someone else. And on varying levels, perhaps we all do little bits of that. So to hold ourselves accountable for, what is my why? One of the most powerful stories that I encountered is a true story that happened in 1942. Susie Pinsias was a young Jewish woman who had fled Germany trying to save her life. And she managed to get on a train, and she was on a train trying to get out of the country, hoping to remain unnoticed, when at one of the stops and the doors opened, 2 Nazi officials climbed up on the train, and they started row by row asking everyone to see their papers. Her heart began to race. Her hands started trembling. She had no papers. Tears started streaming down her cheeks, and the man next to her couldn't help but notice her distress. And he turned and he said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I don't have any papers." She was Jewish. In a split second, that man jumped up and he started yelling at her, "You idiot! I can't believe how stupid you are." The officials noticed that noise, that commotion, and they came right over. Well, the man was just shaking his head in frustration and said, "Officers, I have my paper, but my irresponsible, stupid wife forgot hers. Just take her. Please take her. I'm so sick and tired of her doing stupid stuff like this." The Nazi officials laughed, checked his papers, and went on. That woman said, "I never saw the man again. I never even knew his name, but I never forgot how he saved my life today." She would have surely been taken to a concentration camp. And so for me, the question becomes, what motivates someone to extend themselves either with kindness, or to extend themselves with greed, or to extend themselves with an assault toward another person? What motivates a person? Well, it's our why. What is your why? You see, I don't believe that that man could have instantaneously thought of something to do that would and risk his life to save her life if he hadn't been grounded in a why life mattered to him, what his life was about. So to know our why, to remember it every day, to reflect on it, especially when we have those times of regret, to self-correct before it's too late, hopefully. To know your why. The second really important thing is, don't assume that you know somebody else's why. The 4 agreements. Number 1, don't make assumptions. I have, in my lifetime, certainly never seen our country as polarized as it is right now. And it's work for all of us. It's daily work. And even if you're grounded in your why, it doesn't mean you won't forget. It doesn't mean you won't take the bait. It doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. But the point of it is, if you're willing and will correct, as time goes on, you stay anchored in that. And so it's so important that we don't assume someone else's why. You know, there are blatant lies that it's this or it's that. Either you believe this or you believe that, which are kind of ridiculous ends of the spectrum when most of us live somewhere in here. But there is an energy that would divide. There is a divisiveness that would have you believe that it's either this or that. All people believe like I do and they're good, or they believe like them and they're not good. Do you understand? We're creating enemies. And if there's one thing Jesus said, he certainly said, don't create enemies. And we have to begin in our heart. And so to realize, how am I making assumptions about your why? A few weeks ago, I did Coach Wanda Marie and I did a 3-week series where we were talking about building bridges, understanding racism, and just really understanding differences. And the conversation, there was one night the conversation was just really rich. And one individual shared, they said, you know, there's an individual in my neighborhood that has a Confederate flag, and the person that was sharing said, you know, I would never hang a Confederate flag, and I believe this about it. But what they said is, they said, you know, I made some homemade jam this summer, and so I decided, I took some jam over to my neighbor, had a nice conversation, and then I said, I'd like to understand what that flag means to you. Now, isn't that profound? Not to assume, but to build a bridge. I'd like to understand how you see it that way. I sincerely would like to understand. Because if you genuinely seek to understand, you may very well help someone else get to their why. And they may realize that their why isn't really built on what they'd like for it to be built upon. Or you may realize that. So, daily to be in touch with, why am I doing what I'm doing? Number 2, don't make assumptions about their why. Just don't. And if you get a chance, ask. Number 3, Richard, would you give me that song? Your vibes speak louder than your words. Now, you can tell us all day long what your why is and why you do this and why you're doing that, but the universe knows you're vibrating your why. You're vibrating that out of why you really are doing what you're doing. To bring yourself into alignment is to own it, and that's where healing takes place. That our vibes speak louder than our words. This past Friday was the 57th anniversary of the historical March on Washington. Back in 1963, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. would give his speech, King was inspired by Jesus. He believed and followed the life and the teachings of Jesus. Not religiosity, but the life and the teachings of Jesus. King also had studied and met Mahatma Gandhi and was a real believer in nonviolence. And King absolutely, I believe, did his best. His why was he genuinely believed we are all created in the likeness of God, and to treat each other with that dignity and that respect. So 57 years ago, 1963, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. arrived at the Willard Hotel in Washington the night before the march, his assistants are asking him for a copy of his speech, and he doesn't have it. He hasn't even started on it. They said that he was so nervous about it and just had a block. He could not write. And so he brought his aides together before he went to bed, and they talked about it, and they had differing ideas about what the main point should be. And he just said, you know, I appreciate the suggestions, but now I just need to go upstairs and have counsel with my heart, counsel with my God. And so he went up that night and he prayed, and it says that he wrote a whole speech longhand, but that speech did not include the words, I have a dream. Well, the March on Washington turned out much larger than anyone expected, and King was slated as the last speaker of the evening. When he got up to give his speech, he was trying to follow his longhand notes. It just wasn't flowing, and he was struggling a little bit. And there was a pivotal moment when behind him, the voice of Mahalia Jackson, a Baptist singer, yells out to a Baptist minister. And she says, "Tell them about the dream, Martin. Tell them about the dream." And the people that were there and witnessed it said he looked at her, and her voice was as if the universe was saying, "Why are you here, Martin? What do you want?" Because he pushed those papers aside, and he checked inside, and he connected with his why. And he said, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Clarence Jones, Martin Luther King Jr.'s advisor, said, after Mahalia Jackson said, "Tell him about the dream," it was as if some cosmic transcendental force came down and occupied King's body. It was the same body, the same voice, but the voice had something I had never heard before. You know what it had? It had his why. It had his why to such an extent that he became an instrument for seeing the dignity and divinity of all creation. He became the way because he let that why flow. Would you join me this week in particular in bringing mindfulness to why are you here and what do you want? Moment by moment, day by day, why are you here and what do you want? To continually remind yourself, I can't know their why. I can seek to understand, but I don't know their why. And number 3, that your vibes are speaking louder than your words. There's a song that says, "Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen to your why. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Tell me, what do you want? Tell me, why are you here? Tell me, what do you want? Tell me, why are you here? I invite you to close your eyes. There is one power and one presence. We say those words, and yet there is one power and one presence. There is an energy in the life that animates the being, that brings forth the voice, that flows through the words. Every life is sourced by the one source. And just as in Genesis, when the Creator said, you get to name all of creation. You see, you get to label how you see it, what you will call it, the meaning you will give it. And you will bring forth your why. Each and every one of us do things throughout a day. Some of them we're very clear while we're doing them, and some of them it's just habitual. Sometimes we find ourselves doing things that are truly undermine our own best potential, our own highest and best, and we know it. And there's a part of us that always knows that we can aim higher, that we can open up even more. That there is something within us that when we align with our very best, when we align with the desire for others to be blessed as we are blessed, when we are in touch with why our life matters, why every life matters, we become the instrument of that why. That something begins to move through us and begins to use us. And so we open to being even more mindful of, why am I here? What really matters in this moment? Richard's going to play a soul song to just let this message reach you without words. So listen, listen, listen to your heart's song. Listen, listen, listen to your heart's song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen. That was beautiful, Richard. Thank you. I want to thank Donna and Acela, Tia for being here with us, and for all of your pictures that are on these chairs. You know, this week I thank you, and I hope you will join me in really bringing mindfulness to our why. You know, why am I here at this moment? Let me not make assumptions about your why, and to realize that our vibes always speak louder than our words. Again, we want to thank you for joining us this Sunday. I want to thank you for your cards, your letters. I want to thank you for your faithful financial support. The giving this year has been very good. We've had a slight dip over the last couple of months, which typically happens over summer. So we trust and believe that if every individual continues to do what you can do, that we will ride this time out beautifully and remain vibrant and strong. So I truly want to thank you for that. Also, again, just a reminder, if you're around in the Asheville or Mills River area next week, please come out and join us at 10 o'clock for a service distance out on the grounds. We've got a lot of things going on, so just check our website and let us know if there are ways that we can support you. So to wrap it up, we've got a song by our very own Cat Williams and the band, a Melanie DeMore song, Gotta Lead with Love.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes.
Lift up your eyes.
Don't you despair.
Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
Look up ahead.
The path is there.
The path is there.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared.
I know you're scared.
And I'm scared too.
And I'm scared too.
But here I am. Right next to you.
Right next to you.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love. And lead.
I think somebody has a kidney that is alive and well.